I'm Joan Frances Casey and I have dissociative identity disorder. Integration is the process of several personalities coming together as one.
My name is Lynn Wilson and I am a social worker in the mental health clinic. I remember Miss Casey calling me for the first time for an appointment. She was seen the very same day because of her high degree of anxiety. She looked very fragile and I got an interesting impression of her. At the beginning, she spoke clearly and confidently, but by the end of the interview, I noticed many changes in the way that she acted to treat me. She seemed uneasy about her disclosures with me.
When I first saw Lynn, I didn't think I had a real problem. I only went to stop the suicidal threats that popped into my mind without any cause. I went to my first appointment with the intention of never seeing Lynn again. After my second appointment, my visits with Lynn became more and more frequent. I was reluctant to keep my appointments and kept telling myself, this will be the last one.
We found Joan Frances had 24 personalities in all. This became clear to me when she made me a Christmas present, which had 24 snowflakes cut by Missy, who was a 5-year-old girl with personality.
At the beginning, I couldn't make sense out of Lynn's diagnosis of multiple personality disorder. Over time, Lynn helped me see how my irrational fears had real causes.
My goal was to gain her trust and to open the personalities to one another. Each personality was unique and had his or her own significant problems to confront. Trying to remember her childhood was key in confronting these problems.
Throughout our sessions, I remembered more and more of traumatic experiences I went through. It took a lot of perseverance to dig up these memories that my personalities had so carefully hidden.
Joan's trauma ran deep. She had several personalities like Josie or Sissy who injured themselves to escape the situation. To challenge this, we brought Gordon into the picture.
My name is Gordon and I'm Lynn's husband as well as a teacher. Lynn asked me to prevent Joan from hurting herself in their sessions. I became co-therapist with Lynn and over time we have become equally important in her therapy.
Gordon and I became parental figures to Joan. Her parents did not provide the love and care that developing children need, so we substituted ourselves into that position. We would go on vacations together, and we would care for all of the personalities in the way that they needed.
I remember being a little bit skeptical when I found out that Gordon was going to be my second therapist. I remember he talked about birds, flocks of birds he saw while sailing. They are all separate entities, those birds, but they share a single thought. This line got stuck in my head. At that time, I realized my group of personalities was like a flock.
Joan Frances continued to make progress towards integration with the Alliance, which was the integration of several key personalities.
It was not long after the initial integration that Joan began to regress. She had suicidal tendencies again and was hallucinating. It is theorized that a person's MPD will be at their lowest right before the full integration, so we were hopeful that this was the case.
I was terrified. I had control over my actions, but not of those of the flock. It was not until the flock led me to a puzzle shaped like an egg that I understood what the flock needed. The egg was my center. The flock still had its separate parts, but it was part of a single cohesive being. I glued the cracks of the puzzle and I felt the flock become closer.
Integration is not a quick process. Joan Frances was under my care for several years before we saw any sign of integration, and even after the egg puzzle revelation, it still took several years for the flock to fully integrate.
I was in a series of abusive relationships. I never lost time like I used to when a different personality within the flock would take over. Lynn and Gordon offered solace and we had scheduled to meet up in New Mexico, but there was an accident. Lynn and Gordon were caught in a storm while sailing, and a boat was found pounding itself against a rock outcropping. Their bodies washed ashore 2 miles apart. Life without them has been hard. I think they have a cosmic hand in my life, leading me toward things and people good and nurturing. My time as the flock feels distant and done, as do the traumatic events that resulted in the dysfunction that led me to Lynn. Now, as an unfettered from the past, as any healthy individual can be, I live my life forward.